Snapshots. I'm your host, Courtney Guthrie, and today I have the honor of interviewing Mayor Lisa Sulka of Bluffton. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Love it. Love it. It's another great day in this town.
I know, it's beautiful.
I know.
So I want to start about you growing up in South Carolina. What is some of the best things about you growing up?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up in a little town in the Midlands called Prosperity, South Carolina. We probably small town. Outside of the town, there's a big lake, Lake Murray, which is where we spent all of our summers every day when it was warm. But the town really was a lot like Bluffton was when I moved here, about 400 or 500 people, and great little town, every storefront full. My mom and dad both had businesses there from as long as I can remember. They both had careers. So
I grew up on the lake. Did you learn how to ski?
Oh, I learned how to ski. My uncle taught me how to ski. And on Lake Murray, you have the fancy Lake Murray, which is Chapin and Irmo and Lexington. And then you have I call it the rural Lake Murray, which is Bush River, Prosperity, Saluda, Batesburg area. So yes, I learned how to ski over stumps and trees and snakes and turtles.
Oh,
and
awesome.
It was like an adventure course when my uncle took us. It was fight for your life.
So you grew up and you decided to go to Clemson. What was behind that choice?
Yeah, well, my dad went to Clemson, my sister went to Clemson. We have legacies, that long of Clemson, and I grew up about an hour from USC, Carolina. And really pushed the limits as a middle child with my Gamecock picture, and my dad wouldn't even walk in my room. And as I got into high school, it was basically, if you want a college education paid for, you basically will not go to Carolina, but kind of go to Clemson. Anywhere else, start working on paying for it.
And what was your area of study?
I was in psychology. I was a psychology major. I really had no idea. I guess I did kind of, I wanted to be in counseling. I wanted to be something with the schools. So I guess all along I've always felt very comfortable around young people. But at the time we did not have an education major at Clemson, and I majored in psychology. And then it developed, and I was already on a track for my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology.
So that's a great segue, because I read that you are helping out the local high school athletics. Can you tell me how you got involved in that? Were you an athlete?
My best friend in high school and I, we always thought we could play basketball. Yes, I'm from a very competitive family, and all my friends were very competitive. So we knew if we couldn't be a cheerleader, we could always play girls basketball. But when I was in school, which I don't think was that long ago, there were very few sports that females could participate in. It was basketball, cheerleading, and it kind of started in the time I was in school, track. That was it. We didn't have softball. We didn't have any sport like the kids have today. So yes, when we had our children, we had 2 girls and a boy. I ran a lot, so I think that's where they picked that up. That was just my out, to get the kids in a stroller and go running. So I had 1 runner, 1 that played volleyball, and then my son played football. So I was involved for, they were all youngest to oldest a little over 3 years, about 4 years apart. So it was a long time during high school that I had with these kids. And so I really got involved with Bluffton High. That was before May River High.
And what do you do?
Well, it was interesting. So Michael, when Michael was in high school, it was just Bluffton High School. May River High School just opened. Michael's been out, he's 27. So he's been out of quite a few years. And I was always the mom that went to volleyball. John and I always he went to football, I went to volleyball, we'd go to cross country. It was just a crazy world because they all played in the same season. And the football team really intrigued me. When they were very good, they went to state. They were very good group of athletes, all played in college. Most of Michael's friends went to college and played at some level. And I noticed they needed some guidance. You know, they all kind of would come to my house or one of his friends' houses. And so we started, that group of parents started feeding the kids on Wednesday night after they would win or lose, but they usually won. And we would bring in business leaders to talk to them. And that was just kind of an organic thing. I'm not going to take the credit for it. We all wanted our kids to see other people in the community. And then it evolved his last year into a group with the coach. We titled it Molding Men of Bluffton. And every Wednesday we would feed them after practice, and it just continued it. We bring in someone from the community to talk to the team. And then we ended after the school year and have a banquet. And then the people who would come in agreed to put their contact information on a sheet and really explain to these kids, you're gonna need this one day down the road. You will need references, you're gonna need resumes. This is really to get you out of school and what your next step is, job, military, college. So that's kind of, we did it, and I did it until last year. So after my children were all out of high school, I'd still rally the troops and was still doing it at Bluffton High.
So with that on your very busy schedule, you also work at Carson Realty. Tell me what you do there.
I have been in sales since I graduated college. I own my own business, and then in 2004 I started working for Hampton Hall, the developer, and I had my real estate license. And then 2008, right around there, they were moving out, transitioning to another community, and I decided to work with Carson Realty, which is a general brokerage. So in our little world of government in the state of South Carolina, with populations our size, it is a form of government where you hire a town manager and your council is your advisor. So I'm not a strong mayor. And I think a lot of people that move from the north are used to that type of government, but we all work. Up until a couple of years ago, everyone on the council had a full-time job. One has since retired. And we advise our town manager. So yes, I am a realtor as well. And trying to separate the two is really a full-time job.
Well, you were going to lead me right into my question, but first I want to know, like, what are the biggest achievements in the realty market right now, and what are the biggest obstacles in the realty market?
I'll go with obstacles, because there are more. Trying to, when you have children that want to move back, so it is very hard for this young group of people to find a house. It's hard for them to find a rental because our market is just so reversed into an incredible seller's market. So the obstacles are finding that right house for somebody who really desperately wants to live here. Desperately. You know, their goal was to move back to Bluffton or this area for 10 years, and now they're there. Prices are higher than what they can afford.
So how long have you been in this area?
So I graduated, came back to Hilton Head, had to get a real job by October. I did, and stayed there until I met my husband there, and we had 2 of our 3 children on Hilton Head.
Back to the realty market.
Yes. Sorry.
So you're doing that, and you're doing the mayor thing. So how are you able to manage all that time? That seems like a lot on your schedule.
Yeah, and I'm a mom and a wife, and now I'm a grandma. I have a new grandbaby. First of all, I think women can multitask so much better than anyone else. Especially someone who's had children. You have to, or you will cease to exist. My mother always had her business. She was such an entrepreneur in her day, and this was in the 60s. She had her own business. I left elementary school, would walk to town, I would go see my mom. And my dad had a business. So I think I was raised in that family with a work ethic. And actually, it's a good thing. If I had a 9-to-5 job that I had to be at, this would be difficult. But I'm out, I set my own schedule in my private life, in my career, and honestly would attend everything as a spectator as I'm doing as a mayor. If there's a ribbon cutting, I'm gonna go. And I would go anyway because I want to see what new business is in town. So I guess that's that blur. I don't preach of what I do. I don't tell clients unless they hear about it of my other outreach life. And I do think civic service is that outreach. Everyone should have something that they give back to. I have realtor friends that do Habitat, Bluffton Self-Help. This is my outreach.
That's going to take me back to when you first got involved. Now, you were officially first involved in the town council in 2004, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how did that come about?
Mayor McCracken called me. We lived in his area and where the McCrackens live, and he said, why don't you, now I get it. I get it now, but I didn't get it then. Why are they asking me? We'd like for you to apply to be on accommodations tax committee. It's a new committee. The town is forming this accommodations tax area. And I was like, I can't do that. And he goes, just apply. So then I got excited. It met once a month. Again, I think it's all of what I was raised to do and give back. I thought, okay, well, I could do that. That'd be fun. Well, I didn't get picked. And then my heart was broken. And poor Mayor McCracken had to call me and tell me it wasn't me. And so another year went by, real speed forward, and someone left and they asked would I sit on it. So that's really how I got started with understanding town.
What would you say were the biggest obstacles of getting involved? Was it just getting out there and getting your name known, or?
The unnerving of debating. I am not a good debater, and I told Oscar that. I cannot debate. I listen and I freeze and I don't know how to answer questions. The getting involved was easy. I loved it. The very first thing, and I really didn't understand council. I didn't understand Robert's rules. I was young. I mean, I didn't understand any of that. And we were in a small town, so everything kind of, was willy-nilly. But that was the main thing, speaking up. It took me several months before I would ask a question, but it would be in my head, and then I'd hear someone else ask it. I'm like, that was my question. So I had to get some comfort in that. I had a really good council that talked to me a lot. We had an amazing town manager that would meet with me every week before council and literally go over the agenda. And then we would meet with another council lady. Lucille Mitchell was on council. So Josh Martin would sit with us on her front porch once or twice a month just to go over what was going to come to council. And that was really helpful. I really have a lot of admiration and thanks for that.
Do you feel like there were any obstacles that were put in place simply by you being a woman?
I didn't think it, because I don't think my parents allowed me to think that being a woman is detrimental. I never had that feeling growing up, and I've thought a lot about that. But I am always in the room with more men than women, always. Except last week at League of Women Voters, and one man, I said, what are you doing here? This is a girls' club. But I do think it was there. I do think people saw my youth and overlooked me. I got over-talked a lot at council. And then I made one decision, and I think they realized I had opinions too. And I'll tell you, it was a public comment. You're not supposed to make decisions at public comment. And we're not supposed to talk at public comment. I didn't know that. A lady, she passed away. She owned a home. She lived in a home her whole life right here on Calhoun Street. And her neighbor just did not like anybody. Both have died. Her neighbor didn't want anyone touching her grass, didn't anybody want to park in her easement on the way for church on Sunday, just really unhappy. And Mrs. Gibner, sweet lady, came to council and said, I am happy with people parking on my grass. I do not want and the town put no parking signs up. So that was it. The preface was, this one lady caused so much angst. We put up no parking signs on Calhoun Street all the way down to Church of the Cross. And Mrs. Gibner said, I want people to park on my grass. I love seeing young people go to church. And I just finally had it, and I made a motion at public comment to remove the no parking signs. And the chief like, we'll have to do it in the dark of night. We're scared of this other lady. Like, and Miss Lucille Mitchell seconded it. And Mayor Johnson said, whoa, 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 whoa. And then we called for the vote and it passed in public comment. We don't do that anymore. But that right there, I'm like, I love this. I helped a lady. Like, I really realized my place on a council was to help. And I can make that difference in her life. Whew.
We've seen a lot of changes in Bluffton over the short period of time. I see a lot of change coming. What's being done to keep the beauty, the historical value? What do you see?
Yeah. Well, I really thought a lot about that over the past getting out of COVID. What made us so great? Why do so many people, other than big cities and they can work remotely, what's the draw? You know, it's different than what my draw was. My draw, I'm in a small town, everyone knows everyone's business, there's 600 or 700 of us. I loved it. There's one restaurant, there was one of everything when I moved here, one. The historical side, there was a method to our madness. When we, like in the mid-2000s, Josh Martin, I give him so much credit, was our town manager. He was all of 28 years old. He was young. He and I were the youngest, like, in this group. And he felt the need to really designate a spot. If we're growing, and we knew we were growing in the mid-2000s, Hilton Head had built out. Everybody started moving across the bridge. That had not in the past because Hilton Head was affordable at the time. Bluffton was a one of everything town. One cop, one everything. It was moving. So we hired a very expensive company called Dover Coal. They're doing Beaufort's master plan now to do our Old Town master plan. And it is a document that we do not just put on a shelf. If you would read it today, you would see all the things we've checked off. It was all the to-dos of what to do to create a special place. Now, Promenade had not been built. May River Road was a big swath of pavement with no sidewalks. If you go back to those days to see what we were working with, it really was a blank palette. None of Buckwalter had been developed. There was a road that led kind of to Bluffton Elementary, and there was a road on 278 that came to Woodbridge. Nothing in that middle had been developed. So we had a lot to work with. So I think the historical side of it, if we can all remember how important it is to keep this designation in place, it is our town. It is our main street. Our square mile of Main Street is not just one little road. So that's special. The problem today with that is there's so many contributing structures that need help, but the people who own it don't have the means to adapt to our rules. So it's tough, and we're sitting right here at Wright Family Park. A cottage that you look at in Prosperity would have been torn down. Like my church that looked like Church of the Cross, it was too expensive to, the rehab, the love for history wasn't there. So I think I bring that because I think it makes your place special.
So I want to talk a little bit about the draw. You kind of hinted that there was a draw partially because it had become less affordable on Hilton Head. This was affordable, so it's kind of a gateway to Hilton Head. But do you feel like it's come into its own right, a draw of its own right?
I don't think we need to advertise any other town but us. I do not like other towns, and I don't like, and now it's so funny, there is a place in Hardyville that says Bluffton, so we're spreading it out. I think you should market your town for all the things they offer. People will find it. A great example is Palmetto Bluff. You will never see in their marketing they are anywhere near Hilton Head or Savannah. They are Palmetto Bluff, Bluffton. And that kind of ding with me, like, we can do this. So we have the accommodations tax that I told you about long ago. With that, we have to get a designated marketing organization, and that is our Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber. So they do marketing from that money to market the tourism aspect to Bluffton. So that brings in day trippers. We'll get the day trippers from Savannah and Hilton Head. But that brings a little bit more attention For some reason, everyone thinks they get to Hilton Head via May River Road on a Saturday. It's a little crazy, but they see, wow, what a cool little town. And I have people that tell me, I didn't know a place like this existed any longer. And it is our historic district. It's the friendliness of our people. There are 6 or 7 elements, and I really believe in, that make a town strong. And this is one of them. So it is a draw. We're just not quite affordable right now, but that is something that I believe is part of my cake. We've got to buy into workforce affordable housing. We've got to, and get past this, what is it? What kind of people does it draw? It is drawing my kids, your kids, kids that go to USC Bluffton, USCB. People usually stay where they graduate. They need to have a place to live and work and keep us young. Our average age is 37, so we need to keep it that way.
Off camera, we were talking about how this has changed in the past 10 years. Where do you see it going in the next 10 years? Do you see more parks? Do you see more of this? What?
Bluffton is different from Beaufort in probably a good way. In Bluffton, most of your riverfront is residential. In Beaufort, most of your waterfront is public. So this was part of the Old Town Master Plan in 2004. This purchase has been looked at for 15 or over 20 years. So we always felt when this came up, and it was with the help of a local resident that connected us with the family who owned it, it was a drop the mic. I mean, what else do you need to do? But we are buying more parks. We are just about to close on the park next to our Veterans Park at Buckwalter, and it was owned by a private company, and we're buying their park. It has an amphitheater, it has bathrooms, it has a walking trail, so we'll have almost 2 acres of park in the new area of Bluffton. New Riverside Park, huge purchase, 40 acres, huge. Schools are there, pathways are there, and we're looking now, where else do we find? Where are we missing? So we're missing that kind of communal place on Buck Island in Simmonsville, or Gothey Road. Those are probably our last 3 roads where, if you look at our big map, there's Eagles Field, but is there a place where we could do a passive park, splash pads? What do we do to make our 6 elementary schools, our 1 pre-K to 8, our 2 middles, and our 2 high schools have something to do?
You're finding a miracle time that you can just pick something to go do. What would it be? What are you gonna go do here? What's your favorite thing?
Oh, for me to do personally? Get on that boat and go to, I don't want to tell you my sandbar, because it's a secret one, because they're all getting crowded. Truly, get on a boat or take my kayak with the kids. High tide or low tide, it is just the best place to be. Or come here and bring my computer and work. I mean, if I'm working and I don't have to be in an office, I'll be here or Oyster Factory Park on a bench.
Do a lot of oyster
my children, when they were 4 years old, ate their first oyster, and they would get at the bottom of the table and wait for the juice to fall in their mouth. And it is a sin if you don't know how to shuck an oyster in my family. So we love, and we are very, I'm sorry, but I will not order an oyster that isn't a May River oyster. I just can't.
Well, you gotta have your standards.
Yeah, that is, and people get frustrated, like, no. And the shrimp too. I will not buy, I don't buy prepackaged shrimp.
So if you had someone coming from out of town who doesn't know anything about this area, what's the first place you take them?
Oh my gosh, 2 places. First, they get in the golf cart and we ride around. So drive them around, and then there's a day I'll take them to Palmetto Bluff. Palmetto Bluff has a greeter's gate, but it is open to the public. Our development agreement required it. You can get there by boat, you can get there by car. And it is a pretty cool place to go. And they have more than 200 yards on the river. Their whole island is on the river. So we spend a morning, eat at Buffalo's, just walk and look at that area where the public can go.
I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It was such a pleasure to get to know you and to hear more about the future and the past of Bluffton.
Thank you for asking me. It's been great.